Yo, 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 Life and Love Podcast. We back for another episode. This is a show where we reminisce, reconnect, and rise together. I have a familiar face with me today once again, Loki Karuna. Glad to see you, man.
Ryan, what's good? What's good? Good to see you.
Man, good. Like I said, I had so much fun on the episode we did together. You know, I watch all the episodes over again, but like my wife, that's one of her favorite episodes. So,
well, you inspired me. Since we taped that, I actually went back and visited Memphis for a weekend.
real, yeah,
just to see what was going on. I have to say, it felt very sleepy to me in Memphis. And I know I'm coming from New York, but it felt, which was a good thing. You know, it was laid back. You know, I'm not really used to driving a car anymore, but you know, it was cool driving around Memphis. Went by some of the old haunts. The high school is still there, still looking how it looked. Raleigh Springs Park, though, or what did they call that?
Man, that's nice. It's a new park now with a lake, with a skate park. It has the library and the police traffic control center.
Nice.
So it's very good for the neighborhood. It's resources. It's versus having stores, you know, that might not stay.
I think it's beautiful. It was a beautiful part of the landscape because I grew up right there at Yale and Austin P. So to see on the Raleigh Egypt side,
right?
But seeing that park there is phenomenal. The one thing I wanted to make sure I did say though, it was so refreshing to drive around listening to 107.1.
Okay, I got you.
It was that's what really made me feel like home.
Right.
Yeah, and then they got Glorilla out here now. Like,
she ran the rap game.
So yeah, it was a beautiful trip. I really appreciated getting back.
But it's crazy because I remember I felt your energy or something because I called you that week. You was in Memphis.
I was in Memphis, exactly.
So I was talking to the guest today, our classmate that's on the show with us today. We talked and I said, man, you know what? He requested you to be here. I said, man. Yeah, I want Loki here too. So I said we both want you here. I said, yeah, let's bring Loki back. Let's have a Loki part of this podcast. So my thing is, I don't know the guest that well. I just remember faces.
Sure.
And he's very interesting to me. This classmate we have, all right. So I do want to bring our classmate onto the screen, Louvie Tucker. What's up,
Hello,
Louvie?
Everyone.
Louvie, ma otoko no hito, Louvie.
Oh,
that's Japanese.
we're gonna get into the Japanese later, but Louvie, I want to jump right in. I'm a little surprised to see you here. Like the last time we were Ryan and I talked, one of the things that we were touching on was how band sort of brought all parts of the school together into one room. I don't really remember your being on what I would consider the other side of the school. That's no shade to nobody. It's all love.
It's fine.
Yeah, all love, baby.
No, I saw that podcast. I was on the fence about seeing if I could be on the podcast, and then I saw the episode with Loki. I'm like, I could do this.
Right.
So inspiration, honestly.
Appreciate it. Anybody could do this, y'all. Come on. Like I said, Louvie's doing it. Loki did it. Come on, y'all. We need more people. I'm loving it. Get to know your classmates. Get to know Loki.
Yeah.
I got to know Loki. Like I said, get to know Louvie now.
So Louvie, for folks who never met you, who are in our graduated class, like, introduce yourself.
Elevator pitch. All right, here we go. Well, hi everyone. My name is Louvie Tucker. I did go to school with you. I'm trying to think the best. Some of you may remember me as the guy who knew martial arts.
Right. That's what I remember.
Yeah, that was the thing I did. I didn't really do a lot of school activities. So, but if you're like in the honors classes, the AP classes, you probably remember me. If you were not in those classes, you may have seen me in the hallways outside waiting for my mom to pick me up, just like sitting on the grass doing my homework. That was me.
Yeah.
So,
where did you live in Raleigh, or did you live in Raleigh?
I did not live in Raleigh. I had to test into Craigmont.
Really?
I first knew about Craigmont when I was in third grade. My third grade teacher, she took us to the planetarium. And I was like, ooh, this is a fun school. I want to go to the school. 5th grade, I found out they had Japanese. I'm like, okay, I definitely have to go to the school. I didn't test in then, but 6th grade, I got my scores up enough so I could actually go to Craigmont. So from middle school to high school, Craigmont.
So you was assigned to what school at first?
I was supposed to go to Tresvant.
Ooh.
I saw that post you made.
Shout out to Tresvant.
I saw that face. Yeah.
I did see that post you made in the group chat. You did say something about a lot of kids in Craigmont were supposed to go to Tresvant. So I think that made it sound like you supposed to go there too.
Yeah. There were like from 05, I think about 5 or 6 of us came from Grandview Heights Elementary out in Fraser.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of going to Tresvant, we went to Craigmont.
Okay, cool. But like you said, man, like you said about the you know yourself like the martial art kid. That's how I saw you. Like he was always running around doing karate stuff. But like were you into, like, for me, I know you're into Japanese, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I remember, like, for me, I mean, anime was something pretty big in elementary school. We didn't have a lot in middle school. We just had like Dragon Ball Z. So I did share that, you know, but I didn't go any deeper into anime. So like, tell me about your love for like Japan, like Japanese growing up.
So this started around the time, like, I probably have a pretty good memory of this. I was 4, and my older brother, he got his hands on an questionable anime that he probably shouldn't have shown a 4-year-old, but
hentai.
No, not hentai actually. Okay. But it was pretty violent and gory. Again, questionable choices, but the anime was dubbed in Japanese, subtitled English, and I remember thinking, I don't want to read. I just want to go ahead and know what they're saying. And it's just kind of from there, getting our hands on like VHS tapes of like anime, and then eventually Dragon Ball Z and Toonami and so forth. It's just like that curiosity of like, what is the country like? And I want to go there. And just from that time forward, I've been looking for ways to learn about Japanese, learn about the culture, and find a way to get to the country. And Craigmont was my first step.
Yeah, one thing that I want to know, because for folks who don't know, Louvie and I took Japanese all the way through. And just as a side note, one of the things I was telling my partner the other day, one of the things that I'm really grateful for is the degree to which the administration would work with some of us to make sure that we could get our schedules fit. Because I remember my senior year, all of my classes met one time in the day, and the Japanese 4 class was among those classes. You know, anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but one thing I want to know, Louvie, is to what degree did taking Japanese at Craigmont give you a leg up in college or on the next step, or if it did at all? Do you feel like you got some stuff from Williams Sensei?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Williams Sensei, by the way.
Yeah, Casey Williams.
I think her last name is Bushell now, if I remember correctly. But yeah, when I got to college, of course, I signed up for Japanese, and my first year, my Japanese teacher knew that I already had some Japanese skills, and that I honestly just kind of blew through that class. Like, it was not that hard for me. It got to the point that I inspired another student who was he was a football player, and he wasn't too sure about doing Japanese, but he joined Japanese the second year.
And where was this again?
This was at Denison University.
Okay.
It's in the middle of Ohio, so cornfields and everything. But for college, first year Japanese, that class, easy. Second year was a little more difficult because of we had to listen to a native speaker, and that was new to me. So that was a little harder. And when I got to Japan itself for the first time as a student, a study abroad student, starting off, that was really rough.
Sure.
You know, that's like, you know how you could like start learning a foreign language and you know the different phrases and whatnot, and you do your best. And you're like, okay, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly and everything. Well, for example, Loki, you might remember this phrase, ano koban wa watashi no koban desu.
Hi.
So, you know, that bag is my bag. It's a translation. Yeah. But we go to Japan, you hear something like "Anokoban wa tashi no koban desu," and like, wait, I heard koban, I heard des. Everything else, just
Moichido
Really?
ite kudasai. Moichido ite kudasai.
anokoban wa watashi no koban desu.
I need translations.
It's the same thing. Anokoban wa watashi no koban desu. Like, that bag is my bag, but then in Japan they just go Anokoban wa watashi no koban desu.
So
Yeah.
at what point did you feel like you had really, because I've definitely kept up with my Japanese. I practice Japanese Buddhism, so there's a lot of Japanese just in my daily practice. But it's that listening part that's always been the challenge for me. Even when I traveled to Japan, I never felt, and we'll talk about Japan in a minute, but I never felt like I didn't know what to say. Like, the communication part was always there, but the listening part was always the challenge. At what point do you feel like you sort of got over the hump of really being, comfortable even on that listening part?
Good
It took
question.
a while. It was not during my year as a student. It would be during my time as a teacher, because around that time I started trying to read more. And as I started reading more, I like built up my vocabulary. So
Nihongo de.
Nihongo de. So Nihonban no hon, or the Japanese books, mostly manga. But I was building up my vocabulary in the meanwhile, like getting the stories and understanding what was going on. And then eventually I just started hearing the words in conversation. Now, granted, my Japanese these days, I still don't think is that great. That's what I think. But at the time, like, my listening comprehension definitely improved from reading and just like trying to figure out what these words are, and repetition as well.
I mean, I think that's the importance of reading. As the older I've gotten, the more I always have a stack of books that I'm working on, and that wasn't necessarily the case for me in high school. I had a bassoon in my hand, more than anything. But yeah, and Ryan, you say you've like never engaged. I mean, you did take a little bit of Japanese.
Yeah, I took it in middle school. That's the thing about Kragma, in national studies. That's the thing we had. You get the sample of every language and see which one you like. They actually brought Japanese back to Kragma.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's good.
And they actually got the planetarium back open. So
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so everything you said is a third grader. It's back in Kragma, so it might carry on where the next third grader might come to the planetarium, and also want to go to Kragma.
I went to the planetarium as I remember a kindergarten trip. I went to Keystone,
right,
and it just seemed like the biggest place I had ever seen.
Yeah, that was what the principal talked about last episode. He was talking about the planetarium, about bringing middle schoolers to there to recruit, pretty much a recruiting tool. So no one else has a planetarium except Kragma High School. So the planetarium is doing its thing right now. So
yeah. But I want to get to actually living in Japan. So as I forget, I don't know if we were recording it or not. Maybe the mics hadn't been turned on yet. But when I traveled to Japan in 2013. It was difficult for me to use Japanese, at least in the city centers, because everyone just wanted to speak English to me. Now, with that being said, I definitely traveled out to Kamakura and other places where I was, fighting for my life sometimes with my Japanese. I made it through, but for the most part, I feel like one of the big takeaways was that I am very much, if not just a Black person, an American first and foremost. When they see me, that's what they see, and that's the way that they want to engage. I wonder is that also your experience?
Yeah. So as I said before, I lived in Tokyo as a student, and Tokyo's kind of built around foreign tourists. So there's just going to be English signs around, people who know English. Not a lot of people, but enough people who know English. And if you're like kind of going to the more, I don't want to say touristy, but touristy places,
right,
you're more than likely not going to encounter a lot of people who want to use Japanese with you. And like I had the pleasure to stay with a host family. So I had my host mom and my host brother, who was also an English teacher. So that was my kind of immersion into Japanese culture, living with a Japanese family, taking the train system and trying to just doing daily life stuff there.
Right.
I did get lost a couple times. Definitely got lost a couple times. And I will say the first time I really put my Japanese to the test, I was still a student. And for the New Year's, I think it was New Year's, I went to a place called Kagoshima. It's on the Kyushu Island, so it's like really south. If you know what Okinawa is, it is slightly north of Okinawa. And I'd never been there. I've never heard of the place, but I heard they had a volcano. So I went to Kagoshima, and that was the first time I made a reservation in Japanese for a hotel. I navigated in Japanese. I went on a bus tour. I was the only one on the bus, but they didn't speak English, so we had to like make it work. I really put myself in a stress test there. But when I went back as a assistant language teacher, ALT teacher or LT, I was in the middle of the countryside. So about 2 hours by train north of Tokyo and Gunma Prefecture. And there are people who can speak English, but as the only Black person in town, everybody knew who you were. Like there was no mistake. Not only were you the foreigner, but you were the Black foreigner. So and there were expectations that went with that too. For example, I could play basketball. That's not true. They also assumed I like beer because I'm American. I like that's also not true. But I will say out in the countryside, if you know Japanese and you go to the countryside and you like tell them basically you can speak Japanese, they open up so quickly. Like they welcomed me into their homes, like gave me snacks and things like that. It may have also helped I was a teacher at the time. But in Tokyo, I mean, foreigners who know Japanese, almost a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think that that key of being, again, not only the American, but the Black American, though experiences like those and places that I've traveled, for me, bring me back to gratitude when it comes to growing up in Memphis and going to Craigmont. You know, there are military kids, all sorts of situations where they have to like grow up as that, you know, go to a school like that somewhere in Japan. So, you know, that's what's for me right now. Gratitude to at least, you know, as crunchy as it was sometimes for some of us at Craigmont, just being around Black people is something that more and more I'm grateful for. We kind of talked about that last time, Ryan.
Right. Yeah, we did. But I mean, like you said, we talked about it last time, but like he's saying to be the only Black in Japan, like, so I guess
I'm sure at least it felt like, I'm sure like it felt like you're the only Black in Japan.
Yeah.
Whenever I saw another Black person in Japan, there was a look. There was a look. It's oh, you here? You're here too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I bet it's more powerful in Japan than I feel the same way in America sometimes. Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
But like, as far as racism in Japan, like, what's that like?
I mean, there's just xenophobia. Like, for me, my experience with racism in Japan is it feels almost zilch. I felt like people did not treat me differently because of my race, but they treated me differently because I was a foreigner.
Oh, okay.
So I felt, in a way, one of the things I liked about living in Japan, even though I did feel like I was treated differently sometimes, was that I could understand the logic behind it. Like, oh, you're a foreigner, you probably don't understand our culture, so on and so forth. Like, it kind of made sense, and there's also some laws in place to prevent like tourists coming over and abusing like the Japanese system, like getting free phones and stuff like that. So there's like some laws, like I get it. But for the most part, like face to face with individual people, like everyone I spoke with, no issues really. And while I was there, I had to get used to talking to police officers.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
Because
how was that?
As you all know, we're Black guys in America. We kind of know what interactions with the police officers like. But in Japan, it is completely different. They are there to help you no matter what. So
Really?
you have like police officers, so like little police station boxes out in the corners and whatnot. They give you directions. They directions mostly. That's what I went to them for. But I'm sure they help with other things too. But I would just go to them, start talking to them, like asking for directions or if I could get help or whatever, and they helped me no problem. The scariest interaction I had with the police officer, the Kagoshima trip, my suitcase was locked. I had a little lock on the zippers, but I somehow lost my key to the suitcase. So I had to take my suitcase down to the police station and explain to them that this is actually my suitcase. I know what's in it. Can you please break the lock open for me? And they did question me about it, like what's in there, what do we find in there? And I told them what you'll find, like in detail. They opened it up and they saw it. They're like, "Oh, okay, here you go." And then that was it.
Wow. So that's I would definitely consider that a cultural difference. Then
It is.
Oh yeah.
I thought that'd be something extra. Like, what we better get ourselves into?
But I wonder if Louvie, if there were aspects of being in Japan that, not that you necessarily didn't like, but things that maybe you missed about living in the U.S. or maybe you took for granted while you were living in the United States.
I would say one thing that I did miss. I did have this, but being able to relate to people. I'm trying to find the best way to explain this, but being able to relate to people with my own culture or my own background. Like I enjoyed living in Japan. I enjoyed the friendships and the connections I made, but there's always kind of this barrier, knowing that you cannot be a full member of the society, almost no matter what you do.
Okay.
And that's something that I have more of that here in the States as opposed to overseas in Japan. Other things that I may have missed while I was there compared to here, ease of language, really. It takes some work to, like, even though I got pretty good at Japanese, it still took some work to make sure I can interpret what's being said, and vice versa as well. And just honestly, there's kind of this sense of I didn't have to work as hard in the States to be taken serious. Doesn't seem like the right word, but in that direction, being taken serious as an adult, if you will, compared to in Japan.
So what kind of work did you end up getting into?
Right.
While I was there?
Yeah.
Right.
I was English teacher or assistant English teacher for a middle school.
Okay.
I applied to what's the name of the company so long ago? Borderlink. So basically, have you heard of the JET program?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So for anyone who may not know what the JET program is, it's a program that basically you sign up for, you try to apply, and if they select you, they place you into different schools in Japan, not in Tokyo, but in different schools in Japan, and they start you off in September. With Borderlink and other companies like that, they do the same thing, but they start you off with the actual school year in Japan, which is in April. So I applied, I got in, and I started school April 2010 in Japan. In the largest middle school in my town, they had at least 300 students, I think. So that was pretty big for countryside Japan. And I spent 4 years in that one school.
And then, I hear about a lot of folks who go overseas, many places, China, to teach English as sort of a bridge or a launch pad for another career. Are you still teaching English, or where did those experiences lead you?
Well, by teaching English, my 4th year, unfortunately, I burnt out at the very start of the school year. It started with a student who did not know his birthday in Japanese. After that, like in his own language, he did not know when his birthday was. And I thought, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I realized I had a whole year ahead of me. But after that, and a small hiatus in the States again, I and my wife, we actually moved over to China because we had teaching experience as well. And I also had a background in computer science, so I could help with the IT there. And actually, that's how I started transitioning over to IT and cybersecurity.
So what were some of the differences between living in Japan and living in China beyond the obvious, so this is a completely different language, but I wonder, just culturally, was it a similar vibe or was it a different story?
I could sum it up with one story. I'm trying to think how adult is this podcast? Like what can I not talk about?
We can talk about. We're grown, man. It's Craig.
I don't know who's listening. Children could be watching. I don't know.
It's not for kids, man. It's for us.
All right.
For us.
All right. So
the stage is yours.
So my wife, she's white. I'm black, and we went to China to teach. She's been in China twice already, and she kind of knows the ropes and everything and what to do, what to expect.
Okay.
I went there with her. And we will go out every now and then, like do shopping or something like that. And she'll tell me later that someone asked her, "Where did she buy me?"
Oh my God!
Wow.
They're like,
China, right? China.
In China.
Okay.
In China. This has never happened before, and especially it's never happened. But they're like, "Where did you buy him? Like, is he like your sex slave?" And she had to explain to them that, no, this is my husband. They're like, "But you bought him, right?" Like, no. This is my husband. We're both American. Like, I feel that the general population, and this is no slight to people in China, maybe a slight to their government, but not to the people. China, like the population, the way how they view the world, their worldview is a bit more rigid as opposed to how people in Japan view things. Japan could be rigid as well, but not as rigid as China. So while living there, I definitely knew I was a black person in China. Whereas every now and then in Japan, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I am black.
Okay. So I should go to Japan if I want to go visit.
I would not recommend China at the moment.
Yeah, okay, I go to Japan. Japan sounds friendly.
Japan is pretty nice. I highly recommend Japan, and I'm biased, but I do highly recommend it.
It's also very clean, especially with me living here in New York by comparison. I think the public transit system, if you've ever been anywhere where there's any type of public transit, Chicago, where Louvie is, DC, many places, I think you can basically figure it out, at least in Tokyo. I remember the announcements in Japanese and English, so anybody looking to travel, I would recommend as well. Definitely something different.
Tokyo.
But yeah.
Cool. I check it out, man. Tokyo sound way better than China, so Tokyo would be on the list for sure.
I mean, I tend to go back.
So how long did you stay in China before? So that happened like early, or like
China was 2014 to 2015. By May 2015, due to shenanigans outside of our control, we had to come back to the States. Okay, and that started off my life in America post graduation.
So for you coming back to America, like, how was that experience as far as just coming back? Like, I think we talked about it. You was talking about reverse culture shock when you came back to the States. So like, can you tell us about that?
Right. So for anyone who may not have heard of reverse culture shock, it's kind of basically what you may think it is. It's culture shock for your own native homeland, just experiencing your own culture in a new perspective. So for example, one of the best examples is coming back and ordering food, and you get this huge plate of food, and like, why do we have this much food? Or why is my drink like, this is like 4 cups of whatever it is as opposed to 1 cup. Getting used to food portions was a thing. And of course, in some households, people wear their shoes, whereas inside the house, like they go outside in the same shoes and they wear the same shoes inside the house. And in Japan, like no one does that. You wear your outside shoes, and when you come into the house, there's a section of the house called the Genkan. It's kind of like the entryway. You take off your shoes there, you put it in what is it called in English? Like a shoe box. And then you take
shoe rack,
and you take your house slippers or whatever, and you step in onto the house with those. So no shoes.
I do have to say, in the years I spent living in Minnesota, that was the norm. It's always so snowy and icy and sloshy outside. Most folks would, you wouldn't just walk on somebody's carpet with your boots on. But that's definitely a practice that I engage these days. Yeah, please, politely remove your shoes and come on in.
It's a practice in my house too. We take shoes off at the door. No shoes in the house. My wife taught me that, actually, so I'm not going to just say it was before her. But for the last 11 years, my shoes been off at the door. So
So when you came back from China, did you come back to Memphis? Where did you come back to?
Yeah,
I did stay in Memphis for a little bit, actually. But then after that, we moved to Chicago for the first time because we stayed with a friend who said, "Hey, we got space. There's plenty of job opportunities here. You could find something." So we moved over to Chicago.
Okay.
So you got it.
I was gonna say, Memphis to Chicago. I've been to Chicago a couple times. What's that like for you? I mean, does Chicago feel like a good fit?
So the first few months of Chicago, unfortunately, I still didn't have a job. Like I could not get a job, and I could talk about that soon. But I finally did get a job and started getting my feet back under me and whatnot. Moving around in Chicago, doing daily life in Chicago, having that daily grind, it actually reminded me of my time in Japan. We have a public transit system. We could go out and do things. And I still had that feeling of kind of like being part of the community, but not quite part of the community. So in my mind, I thought, okay, of all the American cities, weirdly enough, that I've been to, Chicago reminds me the most of my time in Japan, and I really liked it.
Have you spent any time in Chicago, Ryan?
Man, I went one time to the Chicago Taste. But yeah, I haven't seen the statue yet. The United Center. I haven't seen it. I haven't been there. Yeah, the United Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen it either, to be quite honest.
Michael Jordan.
There's a lot of Chicago I haven't seen.
I'm a big basketball fan, and that's something you're supposed to go see in Chicago.
Okay,
that's just something we're supposed to know about Louvie.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad.
I don't know. So, not the Museum of Science and Industry, the Field Museum. No,
nothing like that. No. We just messing with you, Ryan.
I know. I've been trying to keep up the translation all episode, but some people know about this Michael Jordan statue that you got to go see in Chicago.
I did not know about it. But now I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, now you got to go find it, Louvie.
Yeah.
United Center, the back where the team play at, the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, see, I'm not a big sports person, so
I know. Yeah, and what I'm saying, we're opposite worlds, so I'm very interested in episode. I'm just listening, man. I'm just enjoying it. Actually, Loki's doing a great job, man.
Yeah,
I'm loving this episode, really.
So, Louvie, I mean, obviously, you did eventually find a job in Chicago. Is this where you got into cybersecurity?
Yeah,
almost.
Okay,
this was kind of like a stepping stone. So, I got hired for a 2-3 week contract, moving computers and whatnot from one office to another, or one building to another. I'm still friends with my boss from that time. I actually had brunch with him this past Saturday, but he would tell me later that when he interviewed me, he knew he was going to try to hire me full time. He had to, unfortunately, replace his right-hand man. So I became his right-hand man. But while I was there, again, I had a background in computer science. I've done harder computer tech stuff before. So I was basically help desk for a law firm, and I had a lot of downtime on my hands. So during that downtime, I got books and whatnot, and just like started learning more about digital forensics and pen testing, like just general cybersecurity things. And it will be another like 2 years, another 2 years before I finally got my first cybersecurity job.
Okay. And what does cybersecurity entail? I mean, do you work at home? Do you have to go where there's some big machines? I don't know anything about cybersecurity.
Well, before the end times, before the pandemic,
right?
I did have to go into an office, and when I started off, it was this large room. We had like 4 big monitors, like showing like different things going on and whatnot. And I had my own little computer, two monitors on my desk. And I started off basically as a threat hunter, looking for indications of compromises on our clients' networks and things like that. About a year later, I moved over to the operations team, where I got to fix one of the scripts that needed to be fixed for months, because I'm like, you guys, here's the solution, implement it. They never did. So I went over to their team so I could implement it. Fixed a few other scripts too, but that aside, I spent most of the operations time basically working on scripts, making sure that data moved properly, so forth, and answering calls in the middle of the night when there was an issue. And about 2 years after that, I got an email from the head of the pen testing team. And I think the email was titled, "We need your help." And I saw it and I thought, oh, this is spam. So I didn't open it at all. I just ignored it. And my supervisor at the time told me, "Hey, did you get this email from the head of the pen testing team?" I was like, "No." "Yes." And I found out that they wanted to bring me on their team. So 2 years ago, I became a cybersecurity consultant. So now I work at home.
Okay, cool.
And basically, I'm paid to try to break into people's things.
Wow.
Oh, break into the credit system or the student loans.
Man, help us out. Help the people out, man.
Ethically, I have to ethically do this. I can't do that. I'll get in trouble.
Oh, allegedly. Allegedly. That's dope. That's dope.
They figured out how to hack everything else.
Man.
All these class action lawsuits. You know, data getting sold, but that's the thing that they're not gonna do.
I'm just gonna say right now, if anyone's listening, I'm not gonna do that.
He's not gonna do it, y'all.
I'm an ethical hacker. I try to stay within the law. So
let me learn.
But cybersecurity, man,
courses out there.
Yeah, there's so many ads. I see it all the time on my computer or phone. Just cybersecurity opportunities, education. But cybersecurity, it's like the new thing that's blowing up that everybody's trying to get into. It sounds like a lot of money is being made in this field. So I'm assuming that is. I might need to clock in too, because run to these burning buildings. I'd rather sit here in the laptop and do cybersecurity and podcasts.
It's honestly a coin toss. So I started looking for cybersecurity jobs honestly back in 2015, and I could not get in. And for almost a decade or more, there's something that the cybersecurity industry will say, but I don't think they really mean it. They say that there are so many that we're lacking talent in the cybersecurity industry. Like, we can't find the talent to fill all these roles.
Mm-hmm. Really?
And that is true. There are a lot of roles in cybersecurity that needs to be filled. But the nuance of it is, like, a lot of these roles are senior roles, or the people who are hiring for these roles don't really know what these roles entail. And so they're asking for things like, for example, if you want to be a SOC analyst, which is kind of like an entry-level position, that's where I started, threat hunting, SOC analyst. They'll ask for, okay, not only do you have to have a bachelor's degree or 4 years work experience, but do you have XYZ certifications? And one of these certifications is they'll like ask for a certification called the CISSP. And I'm actually getting ready to take that next month. But the CISSP is geared towards managers, consultants, people who've been in the industry for like 5-10 years minimum.
Mhm.
But they want that for an entry-level job.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of disconnect between hiring managers and what companies actually what they want versus what they actually need. And then there's also the training that goes into training up the workforce for cybersecurity, because cybersecurity, even entry level, is not something that just anyone could pick up. It does take a certain mind, a certain way of thinking to understand it, and understanding the underlying systems of like networking, computers, and so forth. You don't have to be a hacker. You just have to have a solid grasp of networking communications, essentially. And a lot of that is I'm seeing anyway, it is being outsourced to universities or boot camps or these companies that will charge at least $300 or something like that. And not everybody has $300 for a chance. And there's a lot of them. However, there's also free resources, YouTube, Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, and a few others where, Hack the Box not so free. Try Hack Me too. You could pay for it, but it's affordable. However, it will like teach you pen testing stuff, which is nice, but then there's still understanding the underlying technologies, like why something works the way they work. So I do believe that there is a shortage of talent in the cybersecurity field and the IT field, but I also think that there are not a lot of accessible opportunities for the general public to get into the field if they're interested in it. It's always either you need to have a lot of time to study and learn, or you need to have money, and you need to have money to pay for certifications and whatnot. But it can be lucrative. Yeah.
I would say similar things about the nonprofit sector, and certainly the arts nonprofit sector, is that folks are always looking for development officers. Folks are always looking for folks who work in fundraising. But in so many of these jobs, certainly if you wanted to work at my organization, not only do you have to be a great fundraiser, there's just a level of music literacy that you just have to have anyway, like on top of everything else. So yeah, it's rough out here. I'm grateful to not be on the job market right now. I couldn't even imagine.
Man, that's a lot of information, Louvie. Like I said, some people out here who still haven't found a career, but like you said, cybersecurity, it's an opportunity. It's a lot of background you got to have, but at the same time, it's an opportunity that's available right now. So, like you said, guys, you could be 37 years old and get into this field. It's you can get into this field now. But I want to get into something else, something dear to my heart. It's very dear to my heart.
Already.
It's also you're an author also too, right? You write books. You wrote one book.
Apparently, I do. Yes.
But the thing about that, my mom used to write books, right? So back in high school,
I didn't know that. Well,
yeah, she wrote about 5 to 7 books, man. A lot of Christian romance and romance. She wrote them books, but also wrote like books about a lot of Christian books, basically, right? So like even like on weekends during high school, we used to go to book signings, set the table up, bring the books in, we sit there 2 to 3 hours, and we did it often, right? So that was always fun for me, just seeing my mom, like she was trying to be something greater, because she was writing at home. Like my wife, she writes now also, so she's still trying to get lift off, but she has the mind to do it, so one day it might happen. But like you said, just having that as a high schooler, watching my mom do it, and to know that you are also into that field, like what made you get into writing as far as books?
Oh wow. So I know that I've been basically coming up with stories and whatnot, telling myself stories ever since I was a kid. The first time I tried my hand at actually writing a book was senior year at Craigmont.
Really?
In Mr. Cook, I remember being in Mr. Cook's class, like when we had the time. I'll like take out a floppy disk, put it in the computer in the back, and like keep like trying to write up stuff or whatever. And I would do that on and off every now and then. But this book, or the book that I published, that's currently available now, that one started as part of the NaNoWriMo project in 2016. For anyone who may not know, NaNoWriMo is National November Writing Month. So basically, for the month of November, you try to write out a story or a book or anything that you would like. So this book started off as, this is the book.
Louvie Tucker. That's the one, the visitor.
That's the one. It started off as the NaNoWriMo challenge. And I remember when I first came up with this book, I was looking at the 2016 politics and whatnot, the elections, and I kind of feel like I caused things to happen when I started writing this. But I'm like, what if there was a society that decided to go with the person that we eventually went with in 2016? What would life look like? So I kind of just started off from there. And I also want to, in a way, put myself in the story one way or another, which when I was writing this, after I wrote it and started editing, I realized I put myself into a lot of characters. Like, I saw myself in so many characters. But at the same time, I hope that the characters are their own people and not necessarily me. But this was my project that my wife pushed me to publish, because I was just going to let it sit in a trunk somewhere and never see the light of day.
Yeah, that's how most people are. They write a lot, but they never put it out, So I think everybody's at that point where it's like, should I put it out? Good thing your wife pushed you to put it out. So maybe I should return the favor, push my wife, let her push hers out. So,
Yeah.
But you got a lot of great reviews on it. I checked it out, as far as I'm going to order one actually today.
Yeah,
so I
me
did
too.
check the reviews out. So
I'm just going to say
dope,
right now, my CEO enjoyed the story.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I saw the titles, like Susan's, the what's it called, the New Sons and the
Nuisance and Susans. Yeah.
Okay. So I saw the whole thing. I'm like, man, it's pretty dope. I read. I say, I might want to check this one out for real. But that's like amazing, man. This 2021, you wrote this book.
That's when I published it. The story was written in 2016. It just took forever for me to actually get it out.
Okay, so 2021.
It seems like there's a level of vulnerability that's there, like these words that used to live between you and the page now are available to anybody to flip through, to critique, to have an opinion about.
Man, where you said vulnerability on the pages, I can't wait for it to come out, but book 2 comes out next year. I could say, my wife could tell you, when I finished writing that book, I was shaking.
Wow.
So
really,
I'm looking forward to people reading book 2, and at some point I need to go ahead and outline book 3. But book 2, that was a rough one for me.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I can't wait to read The Visitor and to keep an eye out on the other books. I mean, Ryan, we are a dynamic class. Oh my gosh,
man.
Writers and man, we could save the world if we could figure it out how to get together.
Man, we got. I mean, the people I've been calling, hitting up, everybody's welcome to come on the show. But man, I'm just like kind of like every episode is different. It's like everybody have a different journey, but it's like, man, we really got some successful classmates.
Yeah.
And we got some special classmates. Everything. Saying success doesn't always mean financial. Success just mean living, breathing in good health. That could be success,
Yeah.
But we have some great, great classmates, great people, man. So I'm glad, like today, Louvie, I could say this first time I really met you, and I'm honored to meet you.
Thank you.
You're a dope person, very dope. So I mean,
thank you for having me here.
Oh man, this is, like I said, this is our platform. Like I said, I'm just the guy who saying let's do it, But like I said, you come on here, this is Craig Month, this is us. So you tell your stories, I'm all about love and togetherness. So that's the only thing that matters to me, really. So anybody come on here. Like I said, I enjoyed you. Like I said, Loki always, So
And Ryan, I
man,
know you got some reunion news or updates,
bingo.
but before we get to that, Louvie, I just
Okay.
wanted to know if you had anybody you wanted to shout out. You know, we all had our little cliques and
Perfect.
at
Shout outs.
Craigmont. Who you want to
Oh
say
wow,
hello to?
just on the spot. Okay. I feel like there's so many people. I mean, oh my
Shout
gosh.
it. Just start shouting.
You know what? I'm going to start off with he goes by Aries now on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
But we knew him as
Darren.
Darren
Yeah.
in our Japanese class. I want to say hi to him. I want to say hi to people like Danielle Jones, Rebecca Virgo.
Right.
I don't know if Lauren Valinsky is on Facebook or not, but because we used to exchange, Lauren and I used to exchange notes in different classes in Japanese.
Mhm.
And one of the classes, a teacher asked us to I was like, what you guys doing? I was like, it took the note and then sold us in Japanese and gave it back to us. Who else? Who else do I want to give a shout out to? I feel like, I don't know, Wei Yang.
Oh, I wonder
Okay.
what we is up to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Terry, but unfortunately, he
rest
passed
in power,
away
Kevin.
in September. So,
R.I.P.
but still, I'm going to give him a shout out anyway.
What's up?
Keon Jones, David Brown.
Yeah.
I know there are other people out there, and if I'm not thinking of your name right now, I apologize. But I mean, there were a lot of people that I did interact with in our class that I don't remember. I don't feel as if I remember in a bad light. That's the best way I could put it. But I don't want to say fondly, because I just was not that interactive with a lot of people in high school.
Right.
But I will say there were a lot of people in high school when I was there. Like, I always kind of felt like a outsider while I was there. But not living there, I didn't live in the school, but being there and like meeting all these different people.
I know you stay there.
Yeah, just in the hallways lurking. I did feel more accepted, especially by the time I left. I did feel more accepted in Craigmont, so I do want to thank all you guys for that.
Appreciate it, man. Like I said, we love you, man. Like I said, this right here, and I love every time I do this, man. Every time I get to see a classmate, we have a conversation. It's like one of the greatest things. It makes my week, so I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate everybody who come here, especially like you this week. You made my week, man. Y'all made my week, so I appreciate that. I'm gonna add it to my to the pod, Loki. Shout outs.
Oh,
I gotta start doing shout outs. You know, we gotta acknowledge people, you know, so this is Craig. So people I might miss. Like you said, he said Lauren Valinsky, people like Keon Jones, David Brown. So, you know, shout out to those guys and everybody else in class of 05.
One more person.
There you go.
One more person.
It's always someone
T Win.
Oh yeah, you know, I used to run into her a little bit back when in my Memphis days. Yeah, I hadn't thought about T in a while. Shout out to T.
Shout out T. All right, I'm gonna get to reunion news. All right, reunion news. We got committees will start back up in January. So January, be lookout for your emails. You will be hearing from your emails, Craigmont class of 2005 at Gmail. You can reach out to us on there. So if you have any questions before then, you just hit us up, or you can hit my DM, or like I said, Casey, you got Robin, Candace, Jamario, Kelly Pittman, Kelly Matheson. I'm sorry, that's her last name, Matheson, and one more person. Who I say, Robin and Candace. But also we have a YouTube page now, Craigmont Class of 2005, and our Instagram page, Craigmont 05 Chiefs, and of course our Facebook page is still there. We're gonna post this video on probably a couple of days, so y'all will be seeing this very soon. And one more thing I want to add to that is, let me add something else. Like I said last week, it's all about supporting. Like I said, we're giving back. Like I said, I saw something Denzel said one day. He was on an interview. He was like, you learn, then you earn, then you give back, and you get to the end. So giving back is very important. Like I said, giving back, respect and love. That's everything doesn't have to be money wise, but like Craigmont class of right now also has a fundraiser going on that I won't put on the screen. You can also scan this barcode right here. I donated recently, but like I said, this is for the weight room program. Also, I'm had to get another QR code for the Craigmont band. They also have a fundraiser going on. The fundraisers are very important, like we talked about earlier. But the planetarium came back in 2015 because the alumni had put something together. Also helped donate money to the planetarium, and now it's back. And also you have the band. We had last podcast. We had Tony Robinson from 06. He's been doing fundraisers for the band the last couple of years, and now you see Craigmont band. Not saying that it was just a fundraiser, but you see the band and plus the new director. He's amazing. You got to see him. But these guys are winning competition year after year because of people supporting to the community school. So that is very important that we support the school. So if you give from your heart, that's all I ask. Like I said, the principal's a great guy. I'm actually gonna meet him next week, face to face. So, he invited me to a partner breakfast. So I mean, he made me a partner. This is all came from my deal and said, you know what, we got to this point. He looked at me like a partner. So he's loving what we're doing right here in Class 05. So, man, I'm just excited. So that's all I really got.
Excellent. Well, thank you for leading the way, Ryan.
Yes.
Oh, man, I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. But like I'm gonna head out. Like I said, what we do, we always pray before we head out. So I'm gonna say a quick prayer, and then y'all got anything else y'all want to say? We can say it now, and then I pray, then we out.
I'm good. Thanks again for having us.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
All right, cool. All right, just bow your heads. I want to say a quick prayer right fast. All right, Heavenly Father, thank you for another day and bringing us together in unity and love. We are so grateful for your mercy and your grace. May our time together be a reflection of what you have done for us and a reminder your presence still among us. And we're just so blessed for these connections and helping us grow closer for you and with you, for each of us. And we're just so thankful for you and the life you have given us and the love you have shown us. Amen. Amen. Louvie, Loki or Louvie, who want to do the outro? Or y'all want to do the outro? It's simple. It's very simple. Y'all should know the outro by now.
You give us a refresher.
Well, I remember that we are the last class with Class 05.
That's it.
You got it, Louvie.
Chiefs 05.
I'm sorry I didn't do my full homework, but
Chiefs 05, the last class with Class. We out. Peace.
Okay.
It's just what I noticed. Something could be out there.